Hey guys, thanks for checking out my channel. I thought I'd take this opportunity to introduce myself and thank you for taking a look at what I've got to put up here for video content. I'm new to this video editing thing, so please cut me some slack and throw me some suggestions for how to improve the content that I have and make it more entertaining for you guys to watch. I wanted to give you a little bit of history about who I am, where I come from, and why I think I know a little bit about mechanics and fabrication. My name's Jim Brown. I've been working on cars since I was about 16 years old, so that's about 30 years. Prior to that, I would work with my dad in the shop, my grandfather, and I learned welding from my grandfather and learned all about mechanics from my dad. My dad's an overall great mechanic and taught me many things, you know, through those early years as I was developing, and I took what he gave to me and expanded upon it, and that's why I'm kind of doing this channel, so I can hopefully give back some of the tips and tricks and lessons I've learned the hard way over the years and pass that stuff on to you guys, so that maybe, you know, the knowledge isn't lost forever. The things that I was passed down get passed down to somebody else, and somebody takes advantage of that and uses it in the future, which I think is what we're all here to do right on this planet. So I'm going to try and pass along some of the things I know, and hopefully you guys get something from it, or at least it's entertaining. You know, win, lose, or draw, I'm gonna put the video up. So we'll see how it goes. But my experiences over the years, I spent many years building Volkswagens. I spent most of my time with early Volkswagens between, you know, late 50s and mid 60s. I really didn't own too many past 66. I've had a couple dozen Volkswagens, convertibles, squarebacks, Carmagillas, hardtops, but my specialty, I guess you would say, in the Volkswagen world was notchbacks. I owned quite a few notchbacks, and that's my favorite all-time Volkswagen. I think it's a beautiful body style and really lends itself well as a street car. I liked them low, fast, and loud. At the time, spent a lot of time drag racing out at the street races, and around here that's pretty much what everybody did with a Volkswagen on Friday and Saturday night. Built them up, went out and hopefully got a few wins over some V8s. That nothing was more satisfying than that. When my sons came along, it was time to get some family vehicles, and my first family vehicle was a Jeep Cherokee. 89 Jeep Cherokee that I'm going to put up a picture here for you. I don't have much video of that, but I've got a few pictures of it. Over the years, that Jeep evolved from a bone stock XJ to ultimately what I think was a pretty decent rock crawling vehicle. 38s, beadlocks, trail-ready beadlocks, 14-inch coilovers, triangulated 3-link front suspension, full hydraulic steering, 1-ton rear axle, and a 3/4 ton Dana 44 in the front with CTM U-joints and alloy shafts. It was a very durable rig. ARB locker in the front, Detroit locker in the back. A bunch of body modifications, rock rails, tail light housings, bumpers, all that stuff I custom fabricated myself. I had onboard air with a York 10-inch stroke compressor. Ultimately it became a really great rock crawler. The problem with it was that I had built it up so big that it was time to trailer it. You know, it was hard to drive it up to Johnson Valley or out to wherever we were wheeling and break it and then try and get it back home. So ultimately I ended up getting out of that Jeep and parting it out to a bunch of my buddies in my Jeep club and building another one. I built one for a really good friend of mine. Same suspension type. A lot of the parts that I parted out went to him for his Jeep, and I spent a good year building him a very similar XJ. And you guys have probably, if you spend any time at all on Pirate Bulletin Board or Naxja or any of the other Jeep forums, you've probably seen my Jeep around. I also went from there and I built an MJ. I always wanted an MJ. I got one for a really good deal, 4.6 liter stroker, Jeep MJ from a good buddy of mine in my Jeep club. Came to me bone stock other than the motor. I went through and put power windows, power doors in it. Built my own seat rails to mount a couple buckets in there. Fabbed up the whole suspension with Volvo C303 portal axles. I took the portals, modified Jeep bracketry, mounted all that stuff up, trussed the axle housings, and rebuilt the gearboxes for the portals from the ground up. I've shared a lot of that information out there on Pirate and some of the other places. So a lot of the Volvo bearing and seal installs that people do these days, they probably have gotten their list from some of the stuff that I contributed. After that, I ended up selling that rig to another good buddy of mine who lives fairly close to me here, and I see it all the time, and every time I see it, it breaks my heart a little bit, but I built quite a few Jeeps during that time, a lot of different suspension work. I learned all about link suspensions, 4s, 3s, you know, radius arm suspensions, how to calculate anti-roll, anti-lift, anti-dive, you know, a lot of different factors that you have to take into account when you're building a link suspension. So it was good experience for me. After that, I kind of got into built a couple street rods. One of them was a 63 Galaxy. I pulled the 260 Y-block Ford motor out of it, and the C4, I think it was a C4 transmission that was behind it. Yanked that out and dropped in an EFI 5.0, so I ran all my new fuel lines, fuel pumps, modified the gas tank for a sump for the return line, put the sump in there, all new fuel lines, cut down the wire harness, made it all fit factory, fuse blocks, relays, all the wiring that goes along with an EFI swap, and dropped it on some 20s, and it was a really great running, great driving 63. It was the car was awesome. 4-door, so you could put the kids in the back, and it was 22 feet long, so you felt pretty comfortable driving it around. And after the EFI swap, I got 20 miles per gallon out of that big old boat. So that was one of my favorite builds. And when it came time to buy a house, the Galaxy had to go. But owned a lot of Fords since then. My current project truck is a '94 F350 that I bought as a non-running service truck. A guy dropped it off here for me, a real nice guy that I bought it from, with a 7.3 IDI motor in it, and that was it. No drivetrain other than the motor. No interior, had a crushed cab corner, no bed on it. It was a long bed service truck, and they hacked off the back side of the frame. So I took that as a starting point and picked myself up a short bed and converted the frame to a short bed frame. Because I loved the F350, but I didn't like the fact that it was a crew cab long bed, and you couldn't make a U-turn anywhere. You couldn't hardly park it. So I thought the best thing I could do was take that, cut it down, make it into something that was easier to maneuver around, and I love it. It's a great truck. The 7.3 IDI runs pretty well, but it doesn't make a whole lot of horsepower. You know, I've had a couple Dodges. My last Dodge was I'll show some pictures here of this stuff. My last Dodge was a 06 5.9 24 valve common rail. And I spent a lot of time doing mods to that, you know, adding all the common stuff, tuners, gauges, fuel system, fuel filtration, turbo rebuild, upgrading air inlet, air filters in, and or airflow into it, and 5-inch exhaust all the way from the turbo back to the tailpipe. So I spent a lot of time in that world, and I love Dodge diesels. I love the 5.9. I think it's the best bang for the buck, and that is what we're going to drop into the '94 F350. The IDI is a good motor. It's not a Power Stroke 7.3, so it's not a great motor. I think the Power Stroke was improved quite a bit over the IDI, but we're going to put a 5.9 Cummins in there, and we're going to drop a 47 RE or 47 RH behind it, and we're going to put a transfer case in there so I can get my 4-wheel drive working again to the Dana 60 in the front. Because right now I have no drive line on the front. It's running a 2-wheel drive E4OD, which allows me to drive it around and pick up parts with it, which, you know, is something I need to do in order to be able to do this motor swap. I got to go pick one up. I've been welding and fabricating for about 20 years now. I've built a lot of different things, a lot of suspensions, a lot of bumpers, a lot of rock rails, a lot of tail light housings, off-road equipment for the Jeeps and a lot of my Jeep buddies. Pretty much, we've done a lot of motor swaps that required a lot of welding, and you know, I love it. I love welding. I've got MIG and TIG set up. I've got a nice Miller 211, and I've got a Alpha TIG 200. I think it's the 200 DX, the 2015 model TIG, which has been a great challenge for me because I didn't go to school for welding, so I didn't, you know, I'm self-taught, and it took me quite a while to get competent, I think, at the TIG, but still learning. Got a lot to learn about welding aluminum. So hopefully we'll see a little bit of that. I've already done some on the intercooler setup and the transmission cooler that I've got in the F350. So we may revisit some of that here, and I'll do a full walk around on the F350 when I get a chance here. Currently, what's sitting behind me is my donor project for one of the upcoming trucks that's coming up. I can't let the cat out of the bag. If you want to check and see if that video has been uploaded yet, it should be here on the channel soon. And we're going to do a full resto-custom using this 94 motor TBI 350 as the basis of that project. So a lot of fun stuff coming up. So please, if you like what you see and you want to help support a guy that doesn't really know too much about this stuff but was willing to learn, and you want to go along for the ride, please click subscribe and like, and leave me some comments. Let me know how I can get better at this. I'm hoping to get a little bit better at speaking to the camera, because it's not my strong suit. It's not what I do for a day job. So please like and subscribe, and that'll help me out.